All right. A very good evening to all the dignitaries present here. I am Professor Sanjeev Chadda. I welcome you all to the fifth in the series sessions of Fridays at MGSIPA. As you are all aware that we have conducted 4 sessions under the banner of Fridays at MGSIPA, which have been received very well by the August audience. So ladies and gentlemen, for this fifth session of Fridays at MGSIPA, we have invited Air Chief Marshal Shri Birender Singh Dhanoa, who will speak on the topic Lessons in Leadership. May I now request Shri Amit Dhaka, IAS Director, MGSIPA, to introduce the worthy guest to the audience.
A very good evening to all of you. It's my privilege and honor to introduce Air Chief Marshal B.S. Dhanoa, retired. Sir was commissioned in IF in June 1978 as a fighter pilot. He is an alumnus of Rashtriya Indian Military College, National Defence Academy, and Defence Services Staff College, Wellington. Sir has flying experience from Kiran MiG-21 Jaguar to state-of-art MiG-29 and Su-30 MKI. Sir has many feathers in his hat as commanding officer of a frontline ground attack fighter squadron. Sir has led the IF punch during the limited war against the Pakistan to evict the enemy from their dug-in defenses in the icy heights of Kargil region. During the conflict, under his leadership and supervision, squadron devised unique and innovative methods of bombing in nights at the altitude never before attempted. He also holds the highest flying instruction category in IF and was handpicked to establish IF training team abroad. He has distinction of having held a number of significant staff appointments at operational commands, joint training establishments, and at air headquarters. He developed the aerial targeting philosophy against our potential adversaries, which transformed the concept of air operations of Indian Air Force to contemporary war fighting practices of air power. He took over as Chief of Air Staff on 1st January 2017. As Chief of Air Staff, he conducted 2 major exercises, Gagan Shakti in 2018, a Pan-Air Force exercise that tested IF capability to execute a 2-front war at short notice, and Vayu Shakti that demonstrated IF's day and night firepower prowess. He had led IF when an aerial strike was carried out on terrorist infrastructure in Balakot, Pakistan. In the recognition of Sir's meritorious services, he was awarded Yudh Seva Medal, Vayu Sena Medal in 1999, Ati Vasist Seva Medal in 2015, Param Vasist Seva Medal in 2016 by President of India. Sir has retired from service on 30th September 2019. Post-retirement, he has joined as a non-executive independent director with Hero Motocorps from 1st October 2020 and Interglobe Indigo Aviation Limited from 27th May 2022. So it is an immense pleasure to welcome Sir, and we hope that we will be lucky to hear you, Sir. Please.
Can I? Presentation? Yes. It's a presentation. Okay, this is the? Yes. This is for forward, back. Yeah. And then this is a laser. Laser, yes. Can you hear me? Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed my proud privilege to come and speak to you this afternoon, again in a very prestigious institution of the Punjab government. I have been asked to speak on lessons in leadership. I will give examples of my journey in the Indian Air Force and tell you the lessons of leadership that I have learned. Okay, I think I'll do it. In the 41 years of my service, 50 years, if you include the time I was wearing the uniform, from the time I joined Rashtriya Indian Military College on 1st August 1969. And of course, Dehradun and then NDA Khadakwasla and the Air Force Academy. I come from a family of military personnel. My grandfather joined as a soldier in the 5th Battalion of the 14th Punjab Regiment. My uncle was also in the Air Force. He joined the Air Force as a transport pilot. My father was the odd man out. He was an IAS officer. He was Chief Secretary of Punjab Post Blue Star in 1984 and retired as the Health Secretary to the Government of India. It's not that he didn't want to become an army officer, he tried. He tried becoming an army officer first, but he was overqualified because he was already an MA. And that time, to become an officer, you have to be only a matriculate. In fact, Admiral Lamba, General Rawat and me, we were the first 3 chiefs in the history of the Indian Armed Forces who were graduates. हमसे पहले सब metric pass. I am just joking. They've done their masters from staff college later. Okay. Anyhow, so he was already an MA, so he couldn't have joined. So how did me, being a son of a bureaucrat, decide to come and join the military? That is the story I want to tell you. In the year 2000, I was undergoing a course in Hawaii, conducted in the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. And that time, this lady, Barbara Streisand, why I put her photograph is, I'm sure in most of her generation, other than our, won't know who she was. She was an actress and a singer. And she was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. Now, when you are getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, you have all the time in the world to prepare, and you've got a long speech. Other people are just saying thank you, thank you, thank you, and quickly finish the speech. So she had a well-prepared speech. And in that speech, she said that some people asked her whether they should join the movie business. She said, very fact that you've asked the question, the answer to that is no. She said, you want to join the movie business, you must say, this is the only thing I can do in my life. And I have got stars in my eyes. So, it is my grandfather who put stars in my eyes for the Indian military. He regaled me with stories. What a service he had. In the First World War, he was a sapper. And he was deployed in Palestine. Then, Gurdwara movement took place in 1925. They said, whoever wears the black turban to the Gurdwara will be thrown out. But he was the president of the Gurdwara. He had to wear black turban. So he got demobilized and threw back to India. But those days, there was no Aadhaar card. So he came back, finished his matriculation, joined the army again. And this time he joined in 514 Punjab Regiment. He served in Abyssinia, what we call Ethiopia now. And when Haile Selassie was surrounded by Italian troops, the British rescued him. Who rescued him? The Indian Army. 514 Punjab was one of them. They rescued him, and then of course he went to exile in Palestine. And after the Second World War, when the Italians lost, he was reinstalled on his throne. He was in Singapore at the beginning of the Second World War. He was lucky enough that he was routed back to India for some administrative duties when the regiment surrendered. And when the regiment surrendered after the war got over, none of the officers survived the POW camp. But in case he was already in India, the regiment went to Mau, which we know is near Indore. Mau stands for Military Headquarters of War. The regiment got re-raised and they shipped to Egypt. And he fought in the 8th Army. Unfortunately, in his case, what happened is he was on a motorcycle, he went over a landmine and he broke his ankle and he became a permanent Cat C, because of which he was seconded to the Army Education Corps. So his active combat service got over at that particular time. So with his stories, I just wanted to join the military at a very, very young age. 1965, when the war broke out, my father was Deputy Commissioner Ranchi, and the divisional commander there was then Major General Prem Bhagat. Now, Prem Bhagat is the first Indian officer to be awarded the Victoria Cross. He later became a Lieutenant General, and he also founded the Northern Army Command. He is more famous for the famous Henderson-Brooks Bhagat report. He co-authored that report along with Henderson-Brooks. Anyhow, so in Ranchi, I guess it was his influence or whatever, he told my father that if your son is so crazy to join the army or military, why don't you send him to RIMC? That is now known as Rashtriya Indian Military College. I got selected for RIMC at the age of 11. The turban has been tied by my orderly, Duli Chand. Because it was mandatory to tie the turban and we never knew how to tie it ourselves. At the age of 11, I came to Chandigarh, same place. I was interviewed by the Chief Secretary of the state. That was a part of the selection process. And we had 2 or 3 vacancies from Punjab, so I got selected from here. But at the age of 11, you start your PT parade drill. You learn how to swim in 1 week. In 1 week, they teach you how to swim. It is very simple. They used to, catch you by your swimming costume like this and ask you to lie flat. Anyone can swim if he lies flat. So if you don't do that, they'll duck you down into the water. What is known as ducking. It was illegal, but it was done. And in 1 week, you learned how to swim. As simple as that. In very short time, from a boy, you become a man, at least mentally. I'll give you one incident. After the first term got over, I was coming back to our village, Dhanoa, which is 13 miles from Chandigarh. And I, instead of getting the normal, you get one suitcase and leave the trunk, leave your uniforms behind, I decided to get my full trunk and all my uniforms because I wanted to show off to my grandfather. Let's see what all uniforms I have got. Because of his motivation, I had put on the uniform. So I took everything in a trunk, and me, my coursemate Sandhu, we sat in a bus from Dehradun and came to 17 sector, ISBT, bus stand. He got off there, he went to his home, and then I was catching the last bus towards Morinda. Those days, 6:15 used to be the last bus. It used to be dark, 10th of December. So before getting into the bus, I told the driver that my trunk is on top, and when you stop at Gurgaon, please give me some time, I have to offload my trunk. I was a 12-year-old boy, he didn't take me very seriously. So, as I reached Gurgaon, I got down from the bus, he went off. I lost all my worldly belongings. And I don't know what to do, I started crying. So, there was one gentleman who came to me and he asked me, "Ki hoya?" I said, "This is what has happened." He said, "Why did you give up?" He put me in a truck behind, sitting on tomatoes, and I chased the bus to Morinda. I caught the bus in Morinda, scolded the driver, took my trunk out, put it in another bus which was coming towards Chandigarh, and this time didn't put it on top, put it inside the cabin, the main passenger area, and refused to pay that 25 paisa ticket. I said, "No, I will not pay, it is your fault, I am here." And with that, I got off at Gurgaon, and my parents were already there, my chacha was supposed to get married. Everybody was there, they were surprised, this 12-year-old boy has pulled it off. That is what RIMC did to you. We had very few, we were 18 to 20 in a class, at 22 at max. And our teachers used to stay with us in the campus, they used to play games with us. They used to have they used to have a meal with us, the lunch. So they knew us inside out. So every term, every semester, it is semester wise. So 1, 1A, 2, 2A, like that, till 5, 5A you do. 5 years you're there. In class, I remember 1971 war, I think 2A was the class. I used to study one night before the exam, khatam. The war broke out, there was blackout, I couldn't study, I failed in maths. And in class 3, who was my class teacher? It was a maths teacher. And he said that Dhanoa does not find maths interesting, let's make maths interesting for Dhanoa. And you will not believe, he turned me around. From that time onward till I finished maths in India, I got a distinction. And I know these days you people get 95 to 99 in maths. Hamare zamane mein 75% distinction was supposed to be a big thing. But I got a distinction. He just turned me around. Some of the, NDA results of the school, we send one of the maximum children per term to NDA. Some of the notable years when I was the chief, I have the figures, that's what I'm trying to tell you. 5 out of the first 10 in All India merit to join NDA in July 2021 were from RIMC. 2019, 4 out of the first 5 were from RIMC. In 2017, 7 out of the first 10 in All India merit were from RIMC. The school has produced 4 chiefs of the Indian Army, 2 chiefs of the Indian Air Force, I was the second one. Not only that, the boys who were with us before independence, 2 of them became Pakistan Air Force chiefs. One became Pakistan Navy chief and one became the Pakistan Army chief. Anyhow, our centenary was in March 2022. And for me in RIMC, life came around a full circle. If you see, this is me. This is me. Okay, giving a guard of honor to Lieutenant General K. Bhagwati Singh. Since all of you have got friends in the army, you know in the army everybody has got an IC number. His IC number was 1. He was the first Indian commissioned officer. And he also happened to be a Rimkolian. Hence he is taking the parade. His son, Manvendra Singh, went on to become the naval chief. So this is me giving a guard of honor to him. And when I became the chief, I took a guard of honor in the same school. So it turned around. Thereafter, from Doon Valley, you get selected into NDA and you go to Khadakwasla Valley. So we joined NDA, you become soldiers first. And as you stay, your confidence increases. If you see the quality of turban, you see the turban keeps improving with every term. Because your confidence is increased. You are thin as a wire, but you are very, very tough. Very tough. All of you have seen the YouTube videos of Abhinandan when he was captured. He was battered, he was badly bruised, he was bleeding, but his behavior was stoic. When I was the chief, Madam, our Raksha Mantri, she praised his behavior quite a bit to me. I told her, ma'am, this is NDA training. It is NDA where you become so tough that you can take anything in your stride. It is NDA where in the RIMC in NDA where I learned how to win. Again, old movie, so I am showing you a photograph. Seabiscuit. The hero is Tobey Maguire. You people know him better as Spider-Man. Seabiscuit is a story of a horse. The horse was, he was injured and he was supposed to be put to sleep. But from that, they treat the horse, they recover, and he goes on to become a national champion. That Laura Hillenbrand, her other book also is Unbroken. A very nice movie directed by Angelina Jolie. About human endeavor, I think these are one of the 2 best movies that I have seen. So, in the race in which he is competing against the then national champion, unfortunately, Tobey Maguire has an accident. So, some other jockey is going to ride the horse. So, he tells the jockey towards the end of the race, he said, let him look at the other horse in the eye. Because he says, winning is in your heart. And that I personally believed it throughout my service. Winning is in your heart. Agar aap dil se nahi chahte ho na, you'll never win. So, we were champions. In Chandragupta section in RIMC, we became champions for the first time in 1973. just because ours was a new section founded in 1966. In NDA, out of the 6 terms that I was in NDA, for 4 terms we were champions and we wore a lanyard on the right. I don't have the photograph of the junior term, so I'm just trying to show you. In the 4th term I was a couple, the lanyard on the right, 5th term is on the right. Unfortunately, in the 5th term end, the 51st course lost it, so lanyard had gone to the left, but you notice in the 6th term we won it again, and you notice my lanyard is again on the right. Surprisingly, the last 3 people passing out, the tallest are 3 cadets, and all are Dhanoa, Dayal and Dhaiya. Coincidence. In AFA also, we had a lot of flying to do, but we competed against the GDOC and we were champions. I got commissioned into the fighter stream on 7 July 1978. After that, I went for operational conversion on Hunters to Kalaikunda and did my big operational flying training in 30 Squadron in Tezpur. And then I got posted to Adampur, which was my first fighter squadron, 101, also known as the Falcons of Chamb, because in Chamb is where they acquitted themselves in the 71 war, and it was the most decorated unit of the 71 war. Presently, Falcons of Chamb are flying Rafale, and they are in Hashimara. Every year, in every command, within the command, you have something known as Eklavya, which is a weapons meet, in which you are checked out for your, weapon accuracy, your tactical flying and things like that. And in a MiG-21 where you're doing everything yourself, you compete against other people who have got automated aiming systems. But still, in all the 3 squadrons that I have served in, once, not every year, we could win the Eklavya and we could also be adjudged as the best fighter squad. And that happened, and all the 3 COs, including me when I was commanding, we also got a Vayu Sena medal for it. The winning continued in Kargil, and when our squadron inducted into the Kargil conflict, we were flying the most obsolete aircraft in the Kargil conflict. But we came out of the Kargil conflict as the most decorated unit of the Air Force. We had 18 pilots, all ex-NDA. Our squadron maintained 100% serviceability for 50 days. The biggest lesson I learnt out of that was, if you die for your men, they will die for you. So because we had 18 pilots, all ex-NDA, we had a team for every sport. We had an officers team for hockey, handball, volleyball, basketball, cricket, you name it. And we used to play with our men. See, army has a tremendous advantage. You are in one regiment, you go for a course, you go something, you come back to the same regiment. And your Jawans are with you throughout. You know each one of them very well. In the Air Force, it doesn't happen. You will rotate with squadron. The airmen also technically qualified will rotate with the squadron. Now, how do you build bonhomie? Playing field is one of the best places where you can do it. I know people say Duke of Wellington never said it, but very old saying that the Battle of Waterloo was won and the playfields were eaten. Okay, that is where you build your bonhomie. And when we were flying in Kargil, you just came and spoke to the airmen. मेरे को लगता है थोड़ा सा ये है. We used to work overnight and repair the aircraft. We never said no to a mission. And we carried out night bombing in snow-clad mountains. The problem was, after we lost 3 aircraft, we had been told to raise our level from which we started bombing, so that we are outside the engagement envelope of the man-portable shoulder-to-air missile, the Stingers that the Pakistani troops were carrying. Now, because we went so high, the time of the flight bomb was more. So obviously, the bomb will be slightly, not as accurate if you are low. We wanted to go down low. But the question is, when you go down low, you are vulnerable to the missiles. So we said we'll do it at night. Because at night, he can't point the missiles at us. When there was a catch, in most Western aircraft, when you are flying in the mountain at night, you have something known as a terrain following radar. In a MiG-21, you got nothing. So we did it in moonlit night. Snow-clad mountains. In fact, let me tell you, I didn't tell the bosses it is better than day. But they thought I was doing one hell of a dangerous mission. So, we got closer to the target and we were more accurate. We carried out trials at the Toshe Maidan range, which was at 10,000 feet, and our calculations worked. And that is how all 4 of us who did night strike from 17 got decorated, and Ajay Ahuja was decorated. Our engineering officer was decorated because of the 100% serviceability, and we became one of the most decorated squadrons. Unfortunately, I lost my flight commander Ajay Ahuja, who was shot over the Batalic sector. He ejected, he was captured, and he was shot in captivity. So we carried his coffin back to Bathinda, and every year till I was in service, whenever I was in a command position, I went and flew the the missing man formation. If you notice, this is the classic right hand finger for it, like your right hand finger. Then in the next pass, what we do is one person peels off and we leave a gap here. If all of you have seen Top Gun Maverick, even there also they fly the missing man formation. As a chief, I flew the missing man formation in Bathinda on the 20th anniversary of Kargil. And then thereafter, since I was the chief, I also went to Sarsawa and flew the missing man formation in helicopters. In a joint flypast, 3 helicopters. Air Marshal R. Nambiar, Air Officer Commanding in Chief, Western Air Command. In Kargil conflict, he was flying the Mirage 2000. Then Lieutenant General Y.K. Joshi, who was then 14 Corps Commander, retired I think as the Northern Army Commander. He was 13 Jack Ally. He had also fought in Kargil. All 3 veterans who fought in Kargil flew in 3 different helicopters, of course as co-pilots. And we carried out the missing man formation. I don't think so you get a better picture of jointmanship than this. One of the biggest lessons in leadership that I learnt was, I have flown from MiG-21, which is the, you can say the oldest and obsolete aircraft, to the Rafale. I flew the Rafale when I had visited France. But the lesson that I learnt was, it is not important which aircraft you fly, but how well you fly your aircraft. That is what takes the cake. Finally, about say 20 days before I retired, I flew in Pathankot before I handed over my flying clothing. And of course, the sortie was with Abhinandan, so it got a lot of publicity. He was the celebrity, not me. There's a very famous statement that we used to have in our crew rooms in all fighter squadrons. It was the commander, Randy Cunningham. He was the US naval pilot. He was their first ace. Ace means you shot down more than 5 aircraft in Vietnam War. And he used to say, why let rank lead when ability can do it better? In the Indian Air Force, till the rank of squadron leader, we used to join as pilot officer, flying officer, flight lieutenant. We never used to sir each other. And we all used to call each other by nicknames. Because when you carry out a debrief after a mission, you cannot be frank enough if you are conscious of your seniority gap. Because leading in the Air Force is by your ability. IF is a skill-based service. You know how good you are, and the rest of the world also knows how good you are, like doctors. Doctor goes by reputation. A person has got larger clientele because he is a better doctor. In the Air Force, your demonstrated performance is measurable. If you are a pilot, you drop bombs at 20 meters and the other person drops at 50, you are better than him. There are 2 inspections in every squadron. You have got Aircrew Examining Board coming and inspecting you every year, and you have got a Director of Air Staff Inspection coming and inspecting your unit for its operational role once in 2 years. So in both of them, your performance, good or bad, it can't be hidden. And if it is bad, nobody can pull you up. Similarly, if you are an engineer, if your squadron serviceability is 70%, other squadron is 60%, you are better than him. अपने मुंह में मियाँ मिट्ठू बनने की जरूरत नहीं होती. That is what I want to tell you. Hence, is a technical service. Most important thing in the Air Force is to fly well. That means be a good professional. If you are a pilot, you fly well. If you are an engineer, you are a good engineer. If you are an air traffic controller, you are a good air traffic controller. You are a good fighter controller. And second most important thing is to be a good officer. you have to be leader of men. And third most important thing is to do both at the same time. You can't be one and not the other. As a leader, you have to absorb criticism. Your unit like a sponge and give your credits to them. When you are commanding a fighter squadron, actually we are all boys. I had said it in my India Today interview also in 2019. He said, "Thoda to bachpana hona chahiye." Because bachpana nahi, how will you fight? But since the Air Force fights with machines, that is why fly well has been kept the first. And machines are gender neutral. A car does not know male, female, kaun drive kar raha hai. So as long as the male or the female is flying the aircraft with the same capability, it doesn't make a difference who's fighting. Your capability is the same. It's not muscle power. It's also a technology-based service. You can walk without technology, you can swim or sail without technology, but you can't fly without technology. Without aircraft, you have air and no force. I always maintained the engineers in the Air Force made me the Air Chief. They used to give me more than 8 aircraft to fly. I used to fly, my squadron used to fly a lot. My pilots had cockpit time. They were comfortable in the cockpit. They were emergency. They recovered the aircraft. They don't do stupid mistakes. And we had good upgradations in operational category. Very good performance in DASI and AEV. Obviously, all these things count. Like I said, you don't have to know anyone. First time I wished an Air Marshal on New Year was I was myself an Air Vice Marshal. Usse pehle I didn't wish anyone. I didn't know anyone. It didn't matter. And flying is a perishable skill. Your currency, it is not like swimming, that once you learn in your life, you'll never forget. Currency has to be maintained both in civil and military flying. When I was commanding Nalia, we had a 101 squadron with us which was doing big operational flying training. Now, MOF training is where most of the accidents you must have read in MiG-21s have happened. Because we didn't have an intermediate trainer, the Hawks had not yet come. But we gave them good cockpit time. The squadron flew an average of 200 hours per month. In the entire year 2004, we had no accidents. In fact, 2 MOF pilots brought back aircraft with emergencies and they were commended by the Chief of Air Staff. In fact, one of those MOF pilots went on to become the first commanding officer of the Rafale squadron. Risk-taking is essential in military command. If you can't take risks, you can't go anywhere. But risk-taking is not foolish chances. It is not you take your aircraft in bad weather and go and then, say that I took a hell of a risk. You are stupid. Right from the beginning, from you join the Air Force, every flying instructor takes a risk when he launches you solo. Because if you pile up, he'll be held blameworthy. I flew the MiG-21, in which you have to do everything yourself. Very limited endurance. A MiG-21 comes and lands with 1,000 liters of fuel. And the minimum fuel from Sirsa to divert to Bathinda is 800 liters. So, one circuit, you go around twice, now either the pilot will land in Sirsa or he will eject. There is no other solution. That's why if he goes around twice, even the station commander will run to the ATC. So, that is the challenge in conducting MiG-21 flying. Aircraft was primarily designed as a high altitude interceptor to intercept B-52 bombers. Usko we have done everything, including use it for MOF training. We have used it for, taking out close air support targets. Then you say accident ho raha hai. Obviously, it's not designed for this. Next, when you have to take risks, you have to micromanage your vulnerabilities. Then only you are not taking a foolish chance. You will be objective in your assessment of your vulnerability only if you are doing it for the service or for the country. Then you will see where are the pitfalls and micromanage that point. The moment you think that, mere ko isme ABSM mil jayega ya something will happen, subconsciously, you will overlook some pitfalls and that you'll come to grief. I was in command headquarters. There was one station which had some problem with the barrier. Every time it used to get wet, usko upar nahi chadta tha. Something issue was there. They wanted something from me. they rang me up and said, sir, will you hold my hand? I said, देखो एक बात है, when you get AVSM, will you share it with me? I said, if you not share it with me, then don't you take the risk. Why are you asking me? Okay, so you have to decide in the void of uncertainty, because you never know everything about the enemy. And let me tell you my experience in Kargil, and even after that, in first contact with the enemy, the plan is out of the window. Now, have you inculcated that thing, ability to think on your feet? Our adaptation of night bombing in the mountains in moon phase was ability to think on our feet. We reoriented, readapted, and took out something new and became effective. That is how we got decorated. A commander has to have the ability to decide and avoid. You can't say, first give me everything, then I'll do it. No. Can you play a game of cards saying, पहले सारे यक्के मेरे को दे दो फिर मैं खेलता हूँ? ऐसे नहीं होता. You get a game of cards and you got aces and you got jokers. How good a deal? How do you deal with that? So you have to decide in a void. That is very important. And targeting is mostly based on intelligence and a lot of intelligent guesses. Why? Because in the Air Force, key to air power is targeting and key to targeting is intelligence. This is by Colonel John Warden, very famous guy. He headed the Checkmate organization in the first Gulf War. All targets are Air Force targets. I quote from Tom Clancy, Chuck Horner's book, Every Man a Tiger. Chuck Horner was the air component commander in the first Gulf War. I quote, while the army fights the enemy's army, the navy fights its navy, Air Force fights the enemy. Unquote. It means the enemy's army, navy, Air Force and its war waging capability, all targets are yours. And as Commodore Joshi used to say, he was my colleague in Staff College, a naval officer. He used to say, nation states exist on ground. Whatever you do in the air or whatever you do in the sea, you have to influence events on the ground. Otherwise, you're just doing a fly past. Like suppose you got total air superiority, but you're not dropping any weapons. What difference does it make to the enemy? Hence, again, I'm a Hollywood fan. Another movie, Flight of the Intruder. Brad Johnson in that movie says, fighter pukes, what he means is pilots, make movies while bomber pilots make history. Okay, because they are the people who turn the tide of the war. Of course, peacetime, flight safety is of utmost importance. In our course and flying training, everybody doesn't become a pilot. We were 56 from NDA and 14 direct entry. Only 35 out of 70 became pilots. The rest was restream. Some went to the Navy, some went back to the NDA and joined the Army. But only 35. But despite this screening process, if you include the 2 accidents that we had during training, 7 of my coursemates died in flying accidents. That is 20% of the course. And another 6, including me, ejected for various reasons. Basically, 37% of our pilots were involved in Cat 1 accidents. Air Force, I'm not saying in the accident-prone Scott service. In the 70s, we used to have 40 accidents per year. In my opinion, Air Chief Marshal Mulgaonkar turned it around. When he became the chief, he wielded the stick. He really gumaud the danda. And our accident rate, he removed the cavalier attitude of flying that we had. Accident rate from 40 came down to 20. Air Marshal Raghavendran has written a very nice book, Panther Red One. He talks about Air Chief Marshal Mulgaonkar. He says he had no likes and no dislikes. He used to uniformly hate everybody. so he's the guy who turned the Air Force around. Of course, Air Force accidents came down to 20 and now they are around 8 to 10. Towards the last year of when I handed over the Air Force, that year, 1920 financial year, we had only 3, touch wood. Harsh decision needed and the weak pilots need to be suspended. Like Air Vice Marshal Avasthi, who was earlier in flight safety, used to say, It's better to have living enemies than dead friends. Swallow that bitter pill, suspend him from flying. He will not talk to you, but at least he'll be alive. I'll narrate a true story. I was an Air Vice Marshal. In one social function, a very decorated officer, senior officer from the other service came to me, and he talked about his son. And he said he's in Air Force Academy and is likely to get suspended. I mean, tomorrow or something is his check. Luckily, I knew the chief flying instructor, so I rang him up. I said, "Iska kya case hai?" He said, "Sir, he is weak. You should let him go." I said, "Okay." I didn't go back to the officer. I went to his wife. I said, "Ma'am, would you like your son? Or should I push Air Force Academy to give him some more sorties to stay in the Air Force?" She didn't bat an eyelid. She immediately said, "I want my son." He got restreamed. He's an army officer. He's doing very well. So you have to swallow that bitter pill. Most important thing, especially when you reach the top, humility. You have to keep learning. And you will, if you don't have humility, you will not learn. The best ideas don't emanate from the top. Most of them come from below. I know all of you have seen Top Gun, you have seen Top Gun Maverick. How do you think this Top Gun school was formed? Top Gun school was formed by a research started by a Lieutenant Alt. It is known as the Alt report of the US Navy, who said, what happens in Korea? We were having some 10:1 kill ratio, and why are we not being able to achieve it in Vietnam? Because obviously they were fighting a maneuverable fighter like a MiG-21, small, very diminutive, okay, difficult to spot. So they said, we are training against big American fighters. We need to have dissimilar air combat training. That is how Top Gun was formed. In my own Air Force, I call the lady officer a QGH girl. In one of the functions, again social functions, because when you give the talk and you say any question, only commanding officers will ask. No, young people don't ask you questions. In the evening when you have the party, after some drinks, they do ask you questions. So she came to me and said, "Sir, we are still doing the QGH." QGH was a simple procedure that we used to use in Hunters and Nats to get the aircraft down, with radio. But now you got a Sukhoi 30, inertial navigation system, ring laser gyro, ILS, VOR. He says, "Why are we still doing it?" I went to the chief and he also got surprised. Then, "Tony, don't tell me we are still doing it." I said, "Yes, sir, we are still doing it." We got it removed. Similarly, one youngster came to me. He says, in Jodhpur, you can't do night flying in summers because there is a peacetime restriction of flying above 40 degrees centigrade. See, when it is 40 degrees centigrade, if you put the thermometer gauge in the cockpit and close the canopy, it is 50 almost because of the greenhouse effect during daytime. So that is why we say stop flying at 40 for peacetime. But Jodhpur 40 at night comes at around 9:30 in the night. But then it is not true for night. There is no sun in the night. So if it is 40 outside, it will maximum 42 inside. So we removed the restriction. It was there for all of us to see, but yes, we were reminded by junior officers to do something about it. Hence the humility and ability to learn. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I have finished. I think I have done it on time. If there are any questions, I'll answer.
Well, thank you for this wonderful talk. Now, when it comes to leadership, it's basically...
Pardon, sir, I can't.
Can you increase the volume?
Yeah, so leadership, one very important thing is communication between the leader and the team. In Army and Navy and in civilian administration, people are physically with each other. Physically with each other. I mean, they can talk to each other very easily, they see each other. But in the Air Force, each one is within their own aircraft. and you can communicate only through the electronic systems. So are there any special skills that are required to maintain that kind of communication that leadership requires in the Air Force?
No, there are no special skills because he's not in the aircraft all the time. So when he's in the station, he's with you. And similarly, as a CNC, you go and visit the station, or as a chief, you go and visit the station. And that is the time when you communicate. I always used to insist on not only giving a talk to the officers and the men, and if possible, have a social evening with both the officers and the men. So that, you give him a informal avenue by which he can come and talk to you. But yes, what you do in the air is something that you have rehearsed so many times on the ground. So in the air, there is actually very little latitude for you to do something else. Okay, it is a very well rehearsed and synchronized method by which you carry out air operations, including combat.
Sir, we all understand that leadership is of the spirit and its practice is an art. Now, this art must be supported by sciences like psychology, sociology, etc. However, great leaders of history like Maharaja Ranjit Singh, all of them were not educated. Many of them, I can count, they were not educated. So, the latent talent within them, nurtured due to the circumstances they faced, that is what made them great leaders. There was no science part there. But today, science plays a very important part in becoming a great leader. Am I right in saying that?
No, you are right in that. Professional military education and the way you train throughout your service nurtures you towards leadership. But yes, there are some people with some innate qualities. Like you said, Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Why? Ho Chi Minh and General Giap. They were school teachers. They defeated the mightiest army in the world. Okay, so ये कहीं नहीं लिखा हुआ है that the best brains come out of some particular institution. No, they don't.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, any other query?
Thank you, sir. It was a privilege listening to you. In leading men, which have been the one or two topmost challenges for you and how you overcome them? In leadership, leading men or human beings.
I personally found that till the time I was commanding the squadron or I was in the station, it was fairly simple because I'm in direct communication every day. Now, as you start growing out, you become you come to command headquarters, and when you go to air headquarters as a chief, at that time, to still maintain a connect, that is the challenge. In fact, when I took over as the chief, old days the government used to tell you 2 months in advance, and some people, they, by date of birth, they could calculate years in advance that they'll become the chief. I came to know just 2 weeks in advance. I gathered my wits about me, and say 3 months, in March, I wrote to each and every officer. What do I expect from him in the Air Force? I individually wrote, not by name, but a letter from me directly was delivered to each and every officer. Because I wanted to maintain that connect. Okay, basic thing is, there should be, nothing should be lost in translation. That is the challenge, that whatever you are meaning and what are your intentions. That's why there's a very nice saying, the army has a very nice saying, commander's intent must be known to down.
Right, CI.
Okay, that is very important.
Thank you, sir.
We also did exactly the same. We wrote new letters to all colonels and above. General Sundarji, he did this.
Yeah, General Sundarji had done it in 87, if I am not mistaken. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Back, please.
So, good evening, sir. I wanted to ask you a question regarding the fact that when you're leading in the organizations that you've been in the Navy, when you're leading in the Navy or in the Army, you're already leading people who have been trained to follow a certain type of discipline. their brains are set to follow what the leaders are telling them to. Yes, it is difficult to make sure that your men are following what you're saying and making sure that the communication keeps carrying on. But my question is that how do we incorporate these leading skills into the civil world when we are dealing with people who haven't gone through the same kind of discipline or routine? Just something that makes the civilians different from the Army and the Navy or the Air Force. Anything that you could suggest that as a leader in the outside world, outside the forces, what is the most important thing that we should think about while dealing with people?
I think two biggest motivators are, whether in the military or even outside, now that I'm with the two corporates, is number one is the motivator is the challenge. Is the challenge in the job. Have I given you something so important? And what is the challenge in your job? That is one of the biggest. People will take a job as a lower paying salary, but a better challenge than a person who's idling in office and earning more. Number one. Number two, your importance in the whole wheel. Even if you're a cog in the wheel, but if you tell that person that, okay, if you are missing, the chain will go out. That I personally feel are the two biggest motivators. The person should have the motivation that yes, I am very important and the task that I am doing is very important. That is the biggest motivator. Bad salary, bad living conditions, these are what are, in management they teach you that hygiene factors. Hygiene factors have to be looked after. But motivation doesn't come out of that. Motivation comes out of the challenge in the job, always.
Thank you.
Sir, I am from the police, been in the police. Can you give any such situation where you as a leader protected your subordinate against something which he has not done anything wrong, but your senior wanted to prosecute him?
Oh, yes. I had. Yes. Oh, n number of times. Because that is what you are supposed to do. Otherwise, you are not a commander. And I was the vice chief. And, these parliament questions, it comes out sometimes. And, the MOD will send you a letter at 5:30 in the evening. By when all the buses to Dwarka and Noida have gone. So there is no staff left. And tomorrow morning they want the answer. So I said, this is too much. Then I realized that it is there on the, their website also. We can milk it out of that. So I pulled one officer out and I said, I got him posted there in our intelligence department. And I said, you will answer parliamentary questions. You will see what questions pertain to the Air Force. Because MOD will write to us, say, one day previous. So you will answer it. So he used to collate all this and answer. And when the MOD used to ask the question, our answer always, because every different, like plans branch has to answer, operations branch has to answer, maintenance, Adam, who answers? So he used to have it ready. So then obviously, there are times when, you see how the parliament questions come. Sometimes they ask you the same question again and again. So he was a Fauji. So he got a bit cheesed off. So, Director Air 1, 2, 3, one of these people, he ticked them off. Abhi to diya tumko. Can't you pull it out and answer it yourself? But they don't like it. They don't like being ticked. So they went through the JS to the RM. And I got a letter, the RM desired this guy has to be removed. Okay. I said, don't worry. Hukam to follow karenge. But I said, you go into intelligence, it won't affect your career. He became a group captain.
Sir, you reminded me of my own situation. I was SSP Patiala. Mr. KPS Gill, he was the DGP at that time, sir. The government instructions were, there was some, interstate wheat movement, and the government decided not to allow it. Since these were the instructions from the government, so my SHO at the Derabasi ensured that nobody was allowed to take wheat to the adjoining district, Naba. So he rounded up certain people of Kisan Union along with one Rajya Sabha MP. In the evening I asked, I said, sir, what are the instructions from the government? The government said, okay, let them go. So I passed on the instruction to my SHO, okay, let them go. Then SHO told me, sir, these people are not going. They are sitting in the police station. They said, you show us arrested. Now, for some reason, government doesn't show these kind of arrests. Now, there was a situation in the police station. 20 people were sitting inside along with one MP. So, in the morning, one of the ASA, as you rightly said it, maybe a small cog in the wheel, but he had the ideas. So he said, chalo ji, chalo, sare, chalo, thanu ICM saab de pesh karna hai, thanu arrest kar liya. So all of them were got boarded to a truck. Raste then ASA said, ke ji, hale ICM saab pahunche nahi. Apa langar shak liye jab tak Gurdwara saab cha. So all of them went to Gurdwara saab for langar, and this ASA ran away. So the problem was solved. Happy I promoted him.
Yeah, that is exactly what you're supposed to do.
Now, what happened thereafter? You know, this MP, he filed a privilege breach motion in the parliament. By the time I came as SSP Chandigarh, and I was summoned by this privilege breach committee headed by, at that time, Vice President, I believe, Begum Najma Haptullah. Well, Mr. SSP, what you did against your subordinate for telling a lie to the Honorable MP. Now, I was thinking that they tell lies every day. Now, if my ASI has done, so I had to promote him. So of course, that was not my choice to tell them. So one of the MPs said, no, call Mr. KPS Gill. He is too small a fry, call him. They can tell lies to the MP. So, sir, Mr. KPS Gill and the then Home Secretary, Mr. Ajit Kumar, who became later Secretary, so they were summoned. And there Mr. KPS Gill took a stand. He said, well, gentlemen, do you know what's happening in Punjab and what these boys are doing? And you want me to punish them for something which they did for the state. If you want unconditional apology from me, I am willing to tender. Nothing beyond it. And the matter ended. So I see, sir, that's the leadership, the kind of protection he gave. My another question, sir. Have you, I'm sure there must be some system of writing ACRs.
Yeah.
Have you ever rated your subordinate better than you?
Better than?
You are writing ACR and you are mentioning in that this subordinate is better than me in some respect.
You know, as a remark, I agree with you. There are some people I have written, but in our case, we don't write our own ACR. And let me also tell you, there's a difference. When the promotion board from Air Vice Marshal to Air Marshal takes place during my tenure as the chief, in a 9-point scale, one odd officer is 8. Everybody is below that. We don't, I mean, I have written civilian ACRs. I know how much we don't give that kind of marks. But yes, there are some people, I can't tell you who, in which I have written in this particular trait, he is better than me. Yeah.
So that's what, sir, leadership comes out. Well, we have gone through this phase, you know, in Punjab during the particular days of terrorism. You know, in one case, I took a decision without my boss, my SSP. And in front of me, we were getting a message, there were no mobiles at that time. The CM desires not to do this. The CM desires not to do this. And SSP conveyed, could tell him, we have already done it. He never said that my subordinate has done it. And while writing the ACR, he wrote that so-and-so is better than him.
Yeah, that's a
so
good
this
decision.
Is how your leadership, you know, is evolved. Thank you.
Yeah, gentleman there, please.
Sir, during your tenure, something first happened that was Balakot in 2019, February. That must have been a very big challenge. Sir, can we know something about that?
No, Balakot, the mission is still classified by the Government of India. That is why you notice in my entire presentation, Balakot is not there. So I'm not going to cover it here. But yes.
An impression that we in the civilian administration have. Sorry. Is that question the impression, right or wrong, that we in the civil administration have that the armed forces are protected from what euphemistically we may call lateral influence. What happens with us every day, the law says something, the CM may say something else, the minister in charge may say something even different, and the local party functionaries may want you to do something entirely different. And your boss, if you ask him for some support, may make a non-committal remark, देख लो भाई, कर लो, जैसे ठीक होता है, कोई तरीका निकाल लो. So, is it true that the armed forces don't face this kind of...
We don't.
You don't.
Not only that, like people keep cribbing, but it's a fact. Even who's responsible to the parliamentary commentary for Defence of India? Not me as the Air Chief, no. It's the Defence Secretary. He goes in front, and it is by design. Okay, so that I am not hauled up there. Whoever has thought of it has really put his mind to it. Okay, he keeps you, they have kept you away so that you can be a professional and do the task that you are supposed to do. I think there's a very nice system that we had. That we have been, in fact, the first time you come across all this is when you come out and retire. That is the first time you, otherwise we lead a very protected life. I agree with that.
Yeah, any other query, please? Yeah. Over here.
Just a little addition to what you told us about the then Wing Commander Abhinandan. I was the officer at the Atari Wagah border that day who received him there and handed him over to the 3 Air Vice Marshals who were there to receive him from the air headquarters. That day the things blew hot and cold there, and so you would know better than me because of the press doing certain things, saying certain things which were received not so well on the other side. But the equanimity and the stoicism which Wing Commander Abhinandan sir showed there that time when he was being repeatedly told that yes, he's going, no, he's not going, yes, he's going, no, he's not going. It was amazing, sir. Hats off to him. I just wanted to corroborate that. Thank you.
Actually, the bravery, yes, that time, when it becomes public and all is a separate issue. The bravery was when he was blindfolded and he didn't know that. You see, Ajay Ahuja was also captured and he was killed. So it is not necessary that if you are captured, you will come back. Okay, and in spite of that, the stoic behavior, why do you think we have given him a Veer Chakra? Okay, the various reasons for it. One is, of course, the air combat. Okay, the second is, when he launched his offensive or whatever, he set the cat amongst the pigeons. They couldn't get their targets. And the third is his stoic behavior under captivity. So it is not a one action, award. It is for all his actions that he did on the 27th of May.
Sir, thank you for the wonderful presentation. Sir, at this stage in your life, like you have played your innings in one capacity, you are playing another inning. But how look at your contribution to the people, country, vis-a-vis the contribution of your father to the country, in a family? I just want to know.
How do you
look at your contribution to the country or to the people, vis-a-vis the contribution by your father to the country or what he played his inning, and how do you look at your service vis-a-vis his service? Thank you.
No, my father served in a different capacity. I have served in a different capacity. He had all the problems that you are talking about. I served in the military where life is, I think, much more simpler. Okay, so different scales. I won't like to compare myself with him.
Good evening, sir. Sir, how much challenges and opportunities to take the leadership of Chief of Defence Staff?
Pardon?
Sir, how much challenges and opportunities to take the leadership of Chief of Defence Staff?
Leadership? Chief of Defence Staff, CDS.
No, I was not the Chief of Defence Staff. I was Chairman CUSC for about 4 months. Okay, Chief of Defence Staff was instituted after I retired.
Okay, sir. Then how much, sir, opportunities and challenges to take that?
No, he's got a problem. He's got a, not exactly a problem. He's got the main task laid out for him for integrating the three services. Okay, and that is the roadmap that they are following. And inter-se priority, basically acquisition, everyone wants to acquire the moon. So basically you have this much amount of budget. Okay, so inter-se priority, who should get what? Basically emanates from the fact that how you're going to fight and with whom are you going to fight. You're not going to fight against Hungary. So you have to decide किसके साथ लड़ाई करनी है, कैसे लड़ाई करनी है. Then what is most important, what is second most, third most. I think that is the reason why he's the single point advisor to the government of India on matters of military. I think that's a good decision.
Thank you, sir.
Greetings, sirs. Sir, I want to ask you that while you were learning how to fly in the academy, what were the challenges that you faced while you were learning how to fly, sir?
The biggest challenge is not getting thrown out.
Okay. And sir,
every second person was being sent home. Okay, so you're praying to God. We were in Bidar. You've been to Bidar? There Nanak Jira Gurdwara is there. A lot of people used to take the HT2 and dip thoda Baba ji.
And sir, did fear
so
play a role?
I'm just joking. What I'm trying to say is that the biggest challenge that you have at that time is you try to perform your best so that you can achieve the required standard and you can get your wings and get commissioned as a pilot in the Air Force.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, have you witnessed any change in your role as a leader in civilian life now?
I am a non-executive director, so I'm not exactly a leader. I'm not running the company. What I provide is oversight. Okay. The directors and the board don't provide leadership. Leadership is given by the the management of the company, KMPs.
All right. Any other query, please?
Sir.
How do you compare?
Good evening, sir. Sir, how do you compare Russian aircraft with the aircraft from, say, France, like Rafales, or say from USA, sir?
No, Rafale, you compare Rafale with the US aircraft?
Sir, Russian, basically Russians.
Don't ask this stupid question.
Good evening, sir.
There's no comparison.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. You see, what Russia used to offer you was what the Western people never used to offer you. When we signed the MiG-21 contract, they were the only people who offered you production in India. The Soviet Union broke up in 1991. We are still flying the MiG-21. Why? Because the production was in India. Overall was in India. So in spite of the Soviet Union breaking up, we are still able to support the aircraft. If it was a Western aircraft and that particular country has broken up, I don't think so. We would have been able, if you just buy the aircraft. So what the Russians offered you is, they offered you production in the country. They offer you technology transfer. Okay, so those are the, when you look at the big picture at the national level, so those are the things that decide towards this. Understood? Not just technology and one versus one. No. And yes, you can counteract technology with numbers. But yes, it requires, you have to fight from Kashmir to Kutch. Then you can deploy numbers. But if you are fighting only in Kashmir and in a skirmish, then technology counts. Okay, there are some places where you desperately need technology, and otherwise the numbers also matter.
Good evening, sir. This side, sir. Sir, as a leader, there are times when you require, quick thinking and real-time decision making. So, I'm sure, sir, you would have faced such situations serving. So, sir, I just wanted to ask, what qualities as a leader, you need to take decisions at that particular point in time, and if you can share some of your experiences that you might have had in service, sir.
No, taking the decision in what respect?
Sir, like real time. Sometimes there are times, sir, when you require, you can think about over a decision and take that decision. But sometimes situations are such that you want to, there's a situation and there's a yes or a no that you have to take at that point in time, and that's where a lot of leaders, specifically if I talk about me, struggle to take those decisions. And when there is no time to think, that is where I think that point
actually
comes in.
there is always time to think, but the time to think is before the action, before the situation presents itself. I'm just trying to tell you. Now that they asked these questions, I'm going to give you an incident. I was commanding the squadron in Bathinda, and fighter squadron, MiG-21, boys. So boys always कुछ ना कुछ तो बदमाशी करते हैं. I was a station commander, CO, and this one person was coming back from leave and two people had gone to receive him at Bathinda railway station. So that chai wala who's there, उसको उसने 100 रुपए दिए कि मेरे को पेप्सी दे दो. उस ज़माने में पेप्सी was $7 or $8 or whatever. So that guy threw the 100 rupee note back. So this guy got very agitated, youngster. He took that kettle of his with hot water and poured it on top of him. Then ladai hogi. And hats off to the whatever reserve police force which was deployed there. They saw them with their small haircut. They realized. So they arrested them and took them to wherever the lockup they were there. I was informed of it. So I told the station commander, sir, just give me 1 day. Please don't tell command headquarters about it. Just give me 1 day to sort it out. If I can't sort it out, please report the incident. Because I know if you tell, then we are in grief. So I know the law. They have to hand over custody to me as the commanding officer or the APM. Okay, so I wore my uniform. I went to the gate, picked up 2 Air Force police guys with me as escorts. And I went there. And he was a very nice chap. The Thanedar was a very nice chap. He said, sir, we have taken them into protective custody. Otherwise, they would have been thrashed. There were just 2 of them. And all the vendors had ganged up against them. So I said, no problem. Ye wo. Then I told him, bache ne, ye wo. Then he said, sir, garib aadmi hai, thode paise de do. So we gave the guy some money and to get himself treated and things like that. And said, you will not do anything. It will be a court of inquiry, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, I got them released and no FIR was written. And I came back into the Air Force station and I told the station commander that, sir, nothing has happened. They are back. Please. So he says, okay. I'm not going to report it. There was one stupid orderly officer, who maintains a register. He keeps writing everything. So in that joker in the register, he wrote that entry that they have been arrested. So then station commander got very angry with him. तेरे को किसने बोला था? कहता नहीं sir, occurrence हुआ तो मैंने लिख दिया. तो उसने station commander डांट लगाई. So he took the 2 pages and he stuck it. छोड़ दिया ऐसे करके. You can't tear them off. So after some time, the assistant provost marshal comes and does a visit to all our stations. So he was snooping around. Luckily, I was officiating as station commander. So he saw that these 2 pages are stuck. So he tried to read like this something. Iske andar kya likha hai? So he came to me. I was luckily officiating station commander and he told me, sir, there is something gone wrong. मैंने कहा, what has gone wrong? कहता 2 pages are stuck. मैंने कहा, yeah, he must have made some spelling mistake. He stuck them. Then he also knew that I knew. So he said, sir, Air Force gets a bad name. मैंने कहा, yeah, I agree with you. मैंने कहा, isn't the situation under control? Who's complaining? I said, what are you this thing? No, sir, we shouldn't happen. It will not happen again. Don't worry. Okay. So just remember one thing. You have to. Another incident I'll tell you. We Air Force we induct units and accommodation comes up later. So Bathinda, the units were being inducted, and of course we didn't have a house. So one signal came. So and so Rangachar posted to. I didn't know who this chap, because South Indians ka ek bada naam hota hai, which is their official name, and there's a short name that we call them by Rangan. So when he came, I realized he was the same guy I met in 8th Squadron. I said, Rangan, what are you doing here? Kehta, sir, I'm so and so Rangachar. I go tell you. I said, where are you posted? He's not posted to me, he's posted to the wing. He says, sir, I'm posted to the wing. Then there's an accommodation problem. I said, have they got something for you? He said, no, sir. Me and my wife are staying in the accommodation member's room. He has vacated his room and gone. I said, bloody hell. The station commander, very nice person. I went up to him. I said, sir, we have got VIP 1, we have got VIP 2, 3, 4, 5. Can I get the keys of VIP 3 or something for a week? So he said, yeah, take it from so and so. So I took the key. I gave it to him. I said, Rangan, 1 week till we look for something for you. He sold to me for life. Okay. And he is the person who was in our tech flight in Bathinda when we maintained 100% serviceability for 50 days. Okay. So, see, you have to be a risk taker. Of course, I followed my father. My father was far superior to me. He always believed in the Almighty. As a deputy commissioner of Ranchi, he resigned from service. Okay, because some inquiry was initiated against him. He told the chief secretary, I'm going. The very fact that you allowed this inquiry to take place. He was called back from Dhanoa because Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri was visiting. At least I have not taken such drastic steps. Because his faith on Almighty was far superior to what I have got.
Yeah. Sir, good evening, sir. Sir, I am from Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development. Sir, how do you feel about the program, MA program and PhD programs in different studies which offer different universities? One. Second thing, being a youth development institute, would you suggest us to also start that program, sir, for the benefit of youth? Thank you, sir.
No, defense studies, if you are telling someone, the purpose is what will the person do? Is he going to become a defense analyst or is he going to take part in a higher defense organization? Then by all means, you introduce defense studies. Or, you know, he's going to be a defense reporter or a reporter on a defense beat. Otherwise, if you got enough people doing it, but then you have to have a faculty also. But then you have to have a very well qualified faculty to teach that subject. That is very important if you want to introduce this kind of subject.
All right. So thank you so much. We come to an end. Thank you, sir, for this very enlightening session, filled with a lot of anecdotes, personal experiences, and even things from the Hollywood. Let's hear for our guest speaker. Big round of applause. And also thank you, the lovely audience, for such a very insightful question and very meaningful and with lot of engagements. Now, may I request Director General Sir Shri Anirudh Tiwari and Director Sir Shri Amit Dhaka to come to the dais and honor our worthy chief guest.
Good evening, everyone. At the outset, I'd like to thank Air Chief Marshal Dhanoa for sparing his time and giving us such an inspiring talk filled with practical nuggets of wisdom. You are absolutely right, sir. A leader really has to look at, to my mind, 4 important points. The first, his ability to take risks and manage them. Strategic thinking, the ability to take decisions, especially in fluid situations. Somebody asked that question as well. And of course, you very rightly underlined humility, sir. That is something that's, to my mind, is also very important, because as you grow higher and assume leadership positions, you got to develop that faculty as well. And thank you so much, sir, because you have reminded a lot of us who were sitting in the audience about our own experiences when we have held these leadership positions and thrown up a lot of nostalgia and taken us down the memory lane. I would also like to thank the wonderful audience for being here. Your presence here encourages us a lot. I'm sure with your presence, we would continue to hold more of these sessions. For the time being, I would wish all of you a very happy weekend, and thank you all for being here. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Kindly join us for a cup of tea outside the auditorium. Thank you so much. Thanks.